Hi, I'm Jasmin Dodson with Dodson Legal Group, and today we are going to be talking about different types of trusts that are available for estate planning. Just to be clear, we're talking about what's available in the state of Texas. Different states have different laws that allow the creation of different types of trusts, but because I'm a Texas lawyer, we're just going to be talking about what we have here in Texas. The first type of trust that I want to talk about is a revocable living trust. Now, you've probably heard of an inter vivos trust, or it just being called a living trust, or maybe it even being called just a revocable trust. These are all the same thing. This is a trust that you can create where you have the option of changing it anytime during your lifetime. You can set it up so the beneficiaries inherit when you pass away, and you can make certain provisions in there that allow for distribution of assets at certain time frames and limitations. A revocable trust also helps to avoid probate. So having a revocable trust allows you to be able to transfer assets to your family members when you pass away without having to go through the probate process. Another type of trust is called an irrevocable trust. Now, a revocable trust becomes irrevocable on the death of the person who created it. An irrevocable trust means that no terms can be changed, it cannot be revoked. An irrevocable trust can also be used during someone's lifetime as an asset protection tool. The point of an irrevocable trust is that it takes the assets out of the name of the person who's giving the assets to the trust and leaves it in the trust. So that if you have to give a report of what your assets are, any assets that are in an irrevocable trust are outside of your control, so those are technically no longer your assets. So an irrevocable trust can be used as an asset protection tool. But there are certain restrictions on transfers, like you can't just create an irrevocable trust after you get hit with a lawsuit and put all your assets away and say, oh no, I don't have any assets, they're all in this irrevocable trust. That could be considered a fraudulent transfer. So if you are looking to use an irrevocable trust as an asset protection tool, you really need to talk to a professional to make sure that you're not violating any restrictions on transfer. Another common type of trust is called a testamentary trust. Now, a testamentary trust is a trust that's included in a will. So when you draft your will, you can create a trust within your will that allows you to provide for beneficiaries and instructs the trustee to hold these assets for a beneficiary for a certain amount of time. And you can, the trustee can hold these assets indefinitely. The only issue with a testamentary trust is it is only invoked after you pass away, and because it's a part of your will, that means it has to go through the probate process. Another trust that's available in Texas is called a qualified personal residence trust. This allows you to take your personal residence and put it in a trust. And now a qualified personal residence trust is an irrevocable trust, similar to what we talked about earlier. It takes your personal residence out of your assets and puts it in the name of the trust, and gives you the right to remain living there. Now, a qualified personal residence trust you can identify beneficiaries, and beneficiaries can have the benefit of the asset after the term of your residence in living there is completed. This is something that I have also used in a divorce situation where the husband and wife wanted to keep the personal residence for the benefit of their child or their children, because like we talked about earlier, it's not a good idea to just gift your residence to minor children, but putting them in a qualified personal residence trust still allows you to be able to give that asset to the beneficiaries, which are your children, while you can still reside in that property, and it takes it out of the marital estate. So that's a qualified personal residence trust. The last trust that we're going to talk about is called a special needs trust or a supplemental needs trust. Now, a special needs trust is very much what it sounds like. If you have a loved one who suffers from an intellectual disability, such as Down syndrome, or maybe they're low-functioning autistic, and you want to make sure that you provide some assets for them when you pass away so that they can be taken care of. You can create this special needs trust, and you can fund it with property, you can fund it with money, you can fund it with a life insurance policy, so that this money is held in trust for the benefit of this person. And because a special needs trust is an irrevocable trust, it takes it out of this person's assets, so it doesn't disqualify them from receiving any government assistance that they can. And like I said, you can put a residence in there so that this person always has a place to live that's managed by the special needs trust. You can put a certain amount of money in the trust where they can get supplemental allowance, or you can put it in the hands of a trustee to make sure that the trustee continues to provide for the needs of this person. This is also a good trust to use, and it's also included in a revocable trust for if you pass away and you still have minor children. There's a provision that allows the creation for a special needs trust or a supplemental needs trust so that your minor children can still be taken care of if you pass away, and you put the control in the hands of someone you trust to be able to provide for the needs of your children. So those are the different types of trusts that are available here in the state of Texas. Again, I'm Jasmin Dodson, and if you have any other questions regarding trusts or any other estate planning tools, please don't hesitate to give me a call.